I compared the Lumia 635 up against the LG L90, and to me, it was the better device. So how does it stand up against a more seasoned operating system and a phone that's probably going to be around for a long time, like the iPhone 5S? Let's check it out. So here is the Lumia 635 versus the iPhone 5S. So when you get into the raw meat of it, let's start with the specs, because some people are caught up on specs. I'm really not one of them, but every time I do a device comparison and it's a quad core and a dual core, someone always has something to say that it's not fair, but there's never really a fair matchup or whatever you consider to be fair. So let's take a look. If I could stop getting emails, let's take a look at the specs. So both of these devices are LTE. This one has a 4.5-inch display, but it has on-screen buttons, but it says a 4.5-inch display. This one has a 4-inch display. This one is 112 grams, and this one is 134 grams. This one feels heavier, though, because of the metal, the way it's, the aluminum that it's using. This one has a resolution of 326, and this one has a resolution of 218 for the Nokia. Let's see what else. This one comes in 16, 32, and 64. And the Lumia comes in an 8 gig variant, but you can put up to a 128 gig card in there. So that kind of helps the Lumia with having expandable storage, and the iPhone doesn't. Both of them are Bluetooth 4.0. This one has a 8 megapixel on the rear with a 1.2 on the front, and this one has a 5 megapixel on the rear, no front-facing camera. This one also has a dual LED flash with a dual tone as well. Shoots in 1080p, and this one shoots in 720p at 30 frames per second. This one is a quad-core processor, Snapdragon 400, clocked at 1.2 gigahertz, and this one has a dual-core 1.3 gigahertz Cyclone based on the ARM8. So that's all the specs and things like that, and all the things that people probably want to hear. This one, oh, one more. This one has an 1830 milliamp battery, and this one has a 1560 milliamp battery, non-removable also. So when you get into looks, obviously the iPhone is a lot smaller, but seeing how the volume rocker and see how things are set up, you kind of get a feel of how these are next to each other. Again, the iPhone has a non-removable battery, and the Nokia has a removable battery. So let's go ahead and pop off the Nokia's back to show you. Expansion slot goes here, SIM card goes there, and here's that non-removable battery. You can also change these back covers and do all kinds of things with it. So the competitor first, which is the Nokia Lumia 635. So when you get down to operating systems, this is a matter of choice. If you prefer Windows Phone or if you prefer iOS, that's up to you. When you get down to the way it looks, I give the edge definitely to, once again, to Windows Phone, like every other device except for BlackBerry. I guess I would say, I don't know. Still undecided on that. But when it comes to comparing the way the phones look, I think that iOS is outdated. It needs to be updated with a new look. It needs something more vibrant and vivid, and it just looks like it's the same thing since the beginning, and it is. They've done a few tweaks here and there, but pretty much it's the same thing. You're not getting any kind of anything on the front screen there. So with Windows Phone, though, it looks visually stunning. It looks really good compared to iOS, and especially compared to Android. It looks really good as well. Check out the video on the L90 with the 635 if you haven't done so already. But as far as the way it looks, I give that edge to Windows Phone. Not that I prefer Windows Phone over iOS, but just comparing the two operating systems, Windows Phone looks a heck of a lot better. And when customers walk into the store, they may hear more about iOS because iOS is a well-known operating system and like iPhones. But if the salesperson is selling them the device, can really demo it the correct way, they would see that Windows Phone visually it's beautiful. So let's get on to something that I'm going to jump around here for things that people might want to talk about, which is applications. Obviously, the App Store on iOS is loaded, and it has everything that you could possibly want. But getting into the app stores here, you can see the visual difference here again, the way Windows Phone is set up. It looks really good for what they're doing. iOS, it looks good. But visually, the way Windows Phone is set up, it looks really good. But I still give the edge to the iPhone because it has way more apps in there, and apps that most people, there are a lot of stupid apps in both app stores, but iOS does have every application possible. So I do give that to iOS for having a better app store and better selection. Now let's get into web browsing. Let me clear both these web browsers real quick here. I'm going to put them both on Google. They've all been cleared out. And let's go to Google on this one. All right. So you can see here how they both bring up Google. You can see the difference in the screen sizes. And let's go to some web pages here and see which ones load up quicker. So let's go to CNN. And I'll have to put the .com on here. And let's go to CNN. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Ooh, tight race. Looks like iOS pulled it off by a smidgen. And you can see the content that's loading differently on iOS. This is both CNN. They're both offering you to view the CNN app. I think that's pretty cool. But look at the latest news. It's completely different content on iOS. It's probably because it hasn't been updated. The Lumia one is still showing content from yesterday. So let me refresh and see if the Lumia, there we go. So it looks like that might have been cache information because I did a test yesterday with the Lumia and the L90. So let's click on both of these again. Let's try it again. So it looks like the iOS, the iPhone loaded it a little bit faster, just by a hair. And keep in mind, this has a quad-core processor and this has a dual-core processor, but it's all about optimization. So let's find another link to click on. This same link here. See if it's click. Oh, it's not clickable. Oops. Fail. All right, so let me go back here. Go back and find a different. Let's go to World. All right, so let's click on these two links, and it looks like the iPhone beats it out just by a smidgen every time. So loading out web pages, the iPhone appears to do it better, or just a little bit faster. Okay, so does that make the iPhone better? Web browsing, you probably wouldn't be able to tell because how often are you going to sit these next to each other? But the iPhone did load it faster. So let's get into opening applications up. And here's one where I think the iPhone's probably just going to slaughter Windows Phone because of the way Windows Phone is set up. It's such a free-flowing operating system. It often takes longer for them to open applications on there. So let's open Twitter. And as expected, iOS opened it much faster. But while we're in here, let's take a look at what we're looking at here. So with Windows Phone, I actually set this to the dark theme. But with iOS, I don't believe you can change this theme at all. So again, iOS loads the application faster, but I like the way it looks on Windows Phone. So let's go back out and let's open up Facebook. To my surprise, it looks like it loaded faster on Windows Phone, just by a smidgen. So let's see here. I don't think of any other. Oh, Netflix. Let's open up Netflix. And I already have both of these open on the background, so let's see what happens. What I did was I opened these prior to, I had them in the background already, so I already knew they were there because I was going to demo them. But look at, obviously the iPhone is going to open the application faster, but look at the difference in the way Netflix is set up on iPhone other than Windows. And it's even different on Android as well. So which one do you like better? Which one do you think looks better? I think iOS has finally made its match as far as have an operating system that's as smooth as iOS, because iOS is a very fluid operating system. What do you think? Text messaging, emails, all the sort are all really good and fluid on both. Call quality on both of these is amazing because you have HD calling on the iPhone, and I did pick up a couple of HD calls on the Nokia. How? I don't know. I don't even know this phone has HD calling, but I know what an HD call sounds like, so I can verify that. But on the iPhone, sometimes it'll pop up with a little HD symbol. But call quality on both is really good. So how's battery life on both of these? Well, the iPhone is great, but I have to give the edge to the Lumia 635, not because it has a bigger battery, but because it just lasts a long time based on the way Windows Phone is optimized. And if you remember in the L90 video, it was also much longer than the L90, and it has a much bigger battery as well. So battery life on this one is going to go to the Lumia 635. How about expandable storage or storage on the device? There's some pluses that, like at the beginning of the video I spoke about. The Lumia 635 has all the right options for end user, a person just starting to get a cell phone. With the iPhone, it's more locked down, and you don't really have an option on your battery. You don't have an option on your memory. You don't have an option on a lot of things. But going up against the 635, that's just a no-brainer. It's got a removable battery, expandable storage, all these different things that most users probably would want. So camera quality, the iPhone is probably going to take a much better picture than the Lumia 635. But I'm going to put up some demos at the end of this video coming up here right now. I'm going to shoot a video for both, and I'm also going to do some camera samples for both. So we shall see how they turn out. Just a brief overview of both of these devices. Which one do you like better? I'm going to go ahead and stop here. Don't want to get too much into detail, but check out the video samples and photos at the end of this video. Take care. All right, I'll get it steady here. Here's a video sample of the rear camera. Nice sunny day out. All right, I can get it steady here. Here's a video sample of the rear camera. Nice sunny day out. Final thoughts. Which one would you prefer? Do you prefer, as far as the operating systems go, it's a choice whether you think iOS is going to be your favorite or Windows Phone. But when it comes down to recommendations for a device, the main reason I would recommend the 635 over the iPhone 5S is availability and pricing. Right now, you can get the Lumia 635 at full cost for just a small percentage of what you're going to pay for the 32 gig iPhone 5S, or even the 16 gig is still $700. This is $800 for this 32 gig and $900 for the 64 gig. Well, a 64 gig card right now is about 30 bucks. You can pop that right in this 635 and have a well-built machine that'll do just as well as this supposedly high-tier, high-quality, high-end phone. But it's a matter of preference, remember. So if you think Windows Phone is going to be more appealing to you, then you definitely want to go with Windows Phone. If you think iOS is going to be better, even the so-called lower end iPhone 5C is still priced really high at $600 or so. But a quick search on Craigslist, you can find them, but it still won't match the price of $120 for no contract smartphone with tons of features and packing the hardware to go with it. So I definitely would recommend the 635 over the iPhone 5S, believe it or not. And it's based on pricing. It's what it boils down to, because you're getting a bigger screen. Specs don't matter to an end user, but you are getting a quad-core processor that the iPhone did perform a little bit better when opening web pages, but it was like a second or less, so you really won't be able to tell. So go with bang for buck, and it's going to be the Lumia 635 over the iPhone 5S. Take care.